If anyone does have a problem with that, please let me or Sam know. But just to let you know, the whole event is being recorded and will be sent to our business partners and our business members that can't join this evening. But firstly, I wanted to start by saying thank you to our sponsors. Thank you to the sponsors that make everything possible at Business in Sport. We couldn't do it without them, mainly the St James's Place Academy, the Metro Bank, and also to the Village Hotel as well. Without our sponsors, without our business partners, nothing is possible. We're a members-based organisation, and our members, our business partners, are key to everything we do. My name's Sam Davis. I'm one of the directors at Business in Sport. Sadly, David Smith can't be with us this evening. He is unable to attend. But again, it's a pleasure to be here and a pleasure to be collaborating with the True Athlete Project. In terms of Business in Sport, just to introduce us and introduce the event itself, we are, as I said, a members-based organisation. So we bring together business leaders and business owners, predominantly from the Southwest, together with associations, sporting associations, grassroots sports people, sports teams, and also young aspiring athletes, as a way of connecting sporting stars, athletes and clubs with business that want to firstly help grassroots sport or help young athletes on their journey, but also secondly want to do business and interact with each other through the exciting medium of sport. So COVID-19 aside, we run a series of events and participation events, presentation events, and sporting events that bring together our business partners that have a corporate social responsibility, have an opportunity, have a need to sponsor, invest, and help people within the local community, in particular sports people within the local community, with those that can benefit from support from business. And again, the amount of sacrifice and dedication that the sports people have in their fields, in their sport, is incredible, and it's something that can be mirrored in some respects with business. The drive, the passion, the dedication that business leaders and owners that are members of Business in Sport put into their daily work is very similar to that of a sports person, which again is what we do. But again, Sam approached us, and we're very happy and excited to be working with the True Athlete Project. The True Athlete Project provides mentoring on a different level. It provides mentoring to young aspiring athletes that can learn from people that have succeeded in their field, succeeded in their sport, but also not just learn in terms of how to be a better sports person, how to be a better athlete, but also how to be a better person, how to be a holistic athlete, how to be a true athlete, as they say. So what they do is bring together athletes that have been successful, that have had experience in that sporting journey, and they train young aspiring athletes on how to, again, be better people in terms of their own mental health and how to cope with stress, how to cope with difficulties, and how to cope with the knockbacks that the sport can often bring. And again, that leads us on very nicely to the presentations, of course, but also to what we do at Business in Sport. We support grassroots sport, as I mentioned, especially in this time, without the support of business, without funding from other private sources. A lot of grassroots sport isn't possible, and again, is unable to work in a way that facilitates or brings these athletes through. As well as that, we network with other businesses, of course. We bring businesses together through the exciting medium of sport, but also we sponsor, or we facilitate the sponsorship of the stars of the future. And the True Athlete Project this evening are able to discuss an opportunity that our business members of Business in Sport, and any other business that is able to watch this presentation, watch this event, and gives them an opportunity to sponsor an athlete on a mentoring program, so they can have a direct impact on that young person's dream, on that young person's drive, and that young person's road to success. And it's not just here you go, have some money and you can sponsor this person. You can have a direct role and also be part of their journey, to celebrate in their success, and to really benefit from that overall structure. So it's very, very exciting for us, and we hope to, of course, be able to bring you more events like this in the future with the True Athlete Project. But again, we have some great speakers this evening, and the mentoring program is a fantastic opportunity now and also in the future for our business members, in terms of, as I said, having that direct impact. But thank you very much. I'll hand you over now to Sam Parfitt, who's the CEO of the True Athlete Project. He will, of course, introduce the other speakers that we have, and we have some great speakers. And so you're in for a very interesting evening to have a great insight into the overall project itself. But again, I'll hand over to Sam. He's the CEO, and he has a great and a very interesting, inspiring story actually about how he got there. But thank you, Sam, and thank you everyone for joining this evening.
Thank you so much, Sam. Really appreciate it. Yeah, wonderful to be with you all. Thanks for coming, and wonderful to be with you if you're watching this recording back in a few days' time. So my name's Sam Parfitt. I'm the founder and the CEO of the True Athlete Project. In a moment, I'm going to share my screen and kick off the presentation, but we're just going to have a mindful minute to begin with. So this is how we begin all of our workshops, all of our sessions. And it's just a really nice way to settle, to arrive into the space for the next hour and a half. And try as best we can to be present and gathered despite whatever else has been going on today. So you can sit comfortably. Sometimes we talk about it as a regal position, feeling nice and supported. You're very welcome to turn your camera off if you're more comfortable. But just for a minute, I'm just going to invite you to close your eyes. And at first, we're not going to try and do anything in particular. And that can feel weird. So despite whatever's been going on today, generally for us, just giving ourselves permission to sit quietly for a few moments. Nothing more complicated than that. Allowing ourselves to stop. Just reconnecting with our breath. Reconnecting with the feeling of how the breath breathes in the body. And for one or two more breaths, just seeing if we can be really present with that sensation of breathing. The full duration of the in-breath, the full duration of the out-breath. And in your own time, you're welcome to open your eyes and come back to the group. So I'm just going to introduce my team presenting today. So we have Laurence Halsted. He is our co-director of our global mentoring program. He is a two-time Olympic fencer, the performance director at Danish fencing, a European silver medalist. And it's fantastic that we've had Laurence's support really right from the beginning. So Laurence will be talking to you today about our global mentoring program specifically. We have Dr. Carneiro, who is a medicine specialist. She was the doctor at Chelsea Football Club and is a future TAP mentor. Thank you, Eva, for being on. And we have Sophia Potter, who is a sabreur. There are 3 weapons in fencing, for those who don't know. She does the saber. She's a fencer, represents Great Britain, an under-23 British champion, a student, and she was a mentee on this year's global mentoring program. She's just finished her year of mentoring. And we have Souleyman Bah, who is a sprinter and becoming quite a celeb. You might have seen him on your TV screens recently, an entrepreneur, and he was our first ever TAP mentee, the original True Athlete. So really appreciate you guys being on with me today, and really excited for this presentation. So I'm just going to share my screen and we'll kick things off. Maybe a thumbs up from Laurence. I can see you. Can you see the presentation? Yeah. So this is our schedule for today. I'm going to introduce TAP generally. Laurence will take over. Then we'll hear from our mentees, and then Dr. Carneiro. And then we'll have plenty of time for questions and answers. So we're a non-profit that reimagines sport as a training ground for compassion, mindfulness, and mental well-being. We reimagine the idea of an athlete as someone who develops mind and body to help others and make the world a better place. And we do this in a really practical way by designing and delivering a range of mindfulness-based programs for all levels of sport. So to give you a bit of context, I was a tennis player, moved away from home quite young, moved to the States at 18 to play Division I college tennis in Tennessee, and had all sorts of surgeries, had 4 years of really, really poor health. And it was a real roller coaster, physically, but also mentally, emotionally. And it took quite a toll. Went to some quite dark places during that experience. And so really left sport, left my sort of competitive playing days with this really strong sense of the paradox of sport, this liberating, joyous, freeing escape on the one hand, and on the flip side, this much, much darker side where you're not supported and where things are not going your way. But I was also seeing that in others, seeing that in friends who were athletes, seeing it in stories in the media. And even, so this photo is from a team that I coached. I did a lot of work with at-risk Hispanic immigrant kids in Tennessee and Georgia. And I was even seeing it in this context. So not just in elite sport, but actually grassroots sport. So these kids had some really tough challenges. Fathers in prison or being arrested on the way to games, older brothers who were involved in gangs. And this Saturday morning league was absolutely the most important thing in their lives. Like, it was just, you could see it, it was literally just liberating for them. And yet even that experience was being taken from them, with coaches screaming on the sideline, with parents who were causing a scene and a ruckus at matches. So it really made me think, okay, well, something has to change. There has to be a way to unleash sport's powerful potential that we all talk about and all know is there, but is so often hidden from view. So I had a really fortunate opportunity right out of college as a director of athletics, which we would call a head of sport in the UK, at a school that didn't have a PE program. So I could design something from scratch, which really tried to shift perceptions of what it means to be an athlete in an otherwise fairly traditional place in the world. So we introduced things like parkour, free running, sports poetry, mindfulness, heroes like Muhammad Ali, really trying to look at how the very process of doing sport, of having fun, can actually have a huge impact on our own development, for the long term, and also on our impact on the world, how we treat others. So that curriculum then got picked up by the Muhammad Ali Center in Louisville, which is still, I think, one of the most inspirational places I've ever been in my life. And it's where I got a feel for, okay, there's this sport for social change landscape out there. There's this world of athletes using their platform to do good in some way. But the big thing that stood out for me was that there was this divide. So there was performance sport on the one hand, and there was sport for social change efforts on the other hand. And there was a huge gulf in between them, and really nothing connecting those two worlds other than maybe a bit of, where Cristiano Ronaldo goes into a school and puts his arm around some kids and has a nice photo, and it's great, it's fine, it's a positive thing. But what's it really changing at the crux of it? What social impact is sport actually having beyond that? So the idea was to bring together people from different disciplines. So we had someone who's on the call, a founding member of TAP, Pam Boatler, who is the first woman to defeat men in US canoeing national championship history, and the president of Women Can International. David Brown, the fastest blind sprinter in the world, policymakers like the former UK health minister, coaches, athletes, mindfulness teachers, to come together and think about, okay, how do we unleash sport's powerful potential? How do we design programs which can not only improve performance, but also nurture mental well-being and cultivate a more compassionate society? How do you do that all in one, so that the very process of getting better as an athlete is something that is socially conscious? Part and parcel of being an athlete is this much broader, deeper approach to our development. And I think that this next slide is a really nice and yet tragic summary of why this is so important. So this quote is taken from a girl a runner who took her own life. How do you survive those difficult situations when discipline isn't enough? When grittiness gets you through the workouts but can't seem to get you through the rest of the day? As a runner, you're highly in tune with your body and you know its highs and lows. Learning the highs and lows of your mind is much harder. So it's a quote that really highlights the need for a much more holistic, well-rounded approach. And so then we set up the vehicles for our mission and for that approach. And so we run coach development workshops. Sometimes it's standalone workshops, sometimes it's courses of development, sometimes it's in situ, helping coaches where they are, so that they can be, as the ones right on the front line, they can be the ones who are really excellent at providing high quality mental, emotional support, helping them realize that they are actually some of the most important social change makers we have in society. We run holistic classes, workshops, and even retreats for athletes. Just developed a workshop for sport parents, because they're a key part of the picture. We've got various grassroots sports projects. So we work with Basketball Scotland to help their coaches become social impact officers. They're working in what's called School of Basketball for kids from areas of high deprivation. We're working with the Community Sports Centre in Edinburgh as well on a really interesting project to integrate the NHS 5 Ways to Wellbeing into the delivery of basketball. We have packages for national governing bodies. So we've got a really fascinating project at the moment with British fencing. So it's a 360-degree approach, working with their leaders, staff, coaches, volunteers, support teams, athletes of different levels to really explore how you can embed this approach into the daily workings of a sporting national governing body. And then we have our mentoring programs. Laurence Halsted, pictured here on the right, will talk you through our global mentoring program. But we've also had two sort of spin-offs from this flagship global mentoring program. So one was for British fencing, so it was fencers paired with fencers. And the other was, again, an area of high social deprivation, kids who are at risk of poor academic attainment being paired with university level student athletes. So with that, I'm going to hand over to my colleague, Laurence Halsted.
Thanks, Sam. So yeah, that's a really nice overview of the work that TAP does. And I got involved right after the Rio Olympics. I got back from Rio and I'd been in contact with Sam just beforehand, but it turns out that just after the Olympics is a really good time to ask an Olympian whether they'd be up for volunteering on something, because they often have some time on their hands. And I did, and very glad that I did, because it's been such a kind of fantastic journey and transformation for all of us involved as well. But so I'll start by saying, so there's a bit of information on the slide here. The image in the middle is our current cohort. And it's a global program, so it includes athletes. We invite applications from the entire world. We do run it just in English at the moment, but in the current cohort, there are 8 countries represented. We match high levels of Olympic, Paralympic, and elite level athletes with aspiring younger athletes aged 15 to 24. And so the mentors have to be high level. They have to have experienced quite a lot and generally are more mature and kind of either retired, or later on in their careers. But the mentees, they don't have a particular level that they have to achieve. They just have to be committed athletes. So they have to be they have to be dedicated to their sport, meaning that they'll be dedicated to the program. So that's really the only kind of requirement of being a mentee. And we match the athletes across sports. So no one will get a mentee or a mentor from their own sport. And that's really to highlight that it's not technical, tactical coaching for a year. It's really it's everything else. It's the whole person that we're working with. And it's a year-long program. The real foundation, the real strength of it is in the mentoring relationship. I don't know, anyone who's had experience of mentoring just knows there's incredible power in that pure kind of big brother, big sister relationship. And that really is at the heart of our mentoring program. It's people who've been through it and can share experiences and just be there as a kind of supportive, listening, caring other, along for the ride for an entire year, with all of the kind of ups and downs that inevitably come in a young person's sporting career. And we have the benefit of being this kind of mission driven, being so clear about our kind of philosophy, our approach, this holistic approach. We tend to attract just really kind of fantastically aligned, open, caring, kind of this compassionate style of athletes. So they have achieved a high level, but they also come to us with not fully formed often with this kind of approach, but certainly curious and open and just really willing to seeing that this is the way forward and wanting to buy into that. So we naturally attract these kind of really fantastic kind of community athletes who really want to buy into this approach. And that kind of hit us as we'd started it, that we don't have to select out many people from certainly mentees, but neither mentors, because the ones that apply are generally the ones that we want kind of mentoring for us. And when they all come together and we have some sessions which are mentors and mentees all together, then you really notice this kind of supportive approach, this people just super attracted to, they often haven't come from that in their own sporting environments, but now they've found this way, and they just really love, they really kind of thrive in this kind of sharing, supportive environment. So it's based on this relationship. So the mentoring kind of happens through mentoring sessions quite frequently. So every 1 to 3 weeks, there'll be a mentoring session, and it could be a half-hour check-in, or it could be a 2-hour kind of session to work on a specific exercise. And that's really to kind of, we've noticed that the ones that are most frequent, they're the ones that get the most transformation experience. If some haven't managed quite kind of every 2 to 3 weeks, and they have a nice time, and they do absolutely fine. But when you really buy in, when you really commit in, you get so much more out of it. And you'll hear a bit more from 2 of our mentees who I think did certainly kind of committed in that way and got out everything that we would hope from it. So I think, this is the heart of it, but we also bring our philosophy, our approach through a curriculum. And if you click through to the next slide, Sam. So we have 5 pillars or 5 modules to our curriculum, holistic in nature. So the first one is performance. Performance, this is kind of somewhat pure sports psychology. It's based around the controllables, preparation, effort, attitude. Not much more to say about that. The second module is identity and values. So this is about the idea being that it's super important for athletes to have a rounded identity. And there are actually some significant dangers or risks in having your identity entirely wrapped up in your sport. And there are always ups and downs. There are always downs, and there are possibilities of injuries and plateaus. And if you have everything you care about yourself wrapped up in being an athlete, then when your sporting life is on a downturn, then there's nothing left to kind of buoy you back up again. So we really kind of advocate for interest in other ways and in other things, and building out the other sides of your personality with your friends and your family and other hobbies, and studying perhaps, or even working alongside. And the values piece is a kind of a set exercise where you explore And sometimes the mentors do it at the same time if they haven't before, but certainly they lead their mentees to explore their own core values and kind of understand how to work with them and live with them in their lives and live by them, and the power that can come by that, power of living by your values. The third module is mindfulness. So as Sam pointed out, mindfulness really sits at the heart of, it's kind of a central thread of all of TAP's programming. And it's there because it's this thing that really kind of exemplifies what we're trying to do in the world. It's a technique and a method for training, for self-development that both enhances somebody's performance and athlete's performance, but at the same time, the very same techniques is kind of aiding their mental health and well-being, and helping them build up self-compassion and also outward-facing compassion for others. And it's just this one thing that you do to kind of develop yourself, and it reaches out into all of these different areas. And that's kind of represents what we want to do in TAP is you approach the person as a whole, and it has all of these effects, both as an athlete and as a person and as a citizen and member of the community. And the mindfulness module is an online mindfulness course where the mentees and the mentors all join in together. And it's a pretty special experience because it's a bit of a leveler. Most of the mentors don't have experience with mindfulness when they come to us. And so they're kind of learning this thing for the first time as well. And mentees get to see these multiple Olympic medalists who are struggling with this exercise or have forgotten to do the homework. And it really humanizes these kind of star athletes in a way that we don't often see in society. I think we're getting more and more chances with some great documentaries coming out. But the fact is that even top athletes, they're not these kind of superheroes who never have an issue. They're humans like anyone else who've just trained to be really good at something. And that kind of recognition of human fallibility in the best athletes is really a healthy thing for young athletes to kind of come to. The fourth module is community and responsibility. And this is another kind of central tenet of TAP's philosophy, that everybody has a responsibility to make a positive impact in the world around them. But athletes often have a raised platform. And obviously the kind of top global athletes, stars, they have millions of followers and a huge platform. But even junior, regional or international athletes, they have younger club members looking up to them, and they have their friends at school looking over at them as the kind of professional, serious athletes. And that comes with a platform as well. And so this module is all about exploring what it would be, what it would mean to kind of take that responsibility and do some good, and the power of that, the meaning that you get from taking that responsibility, from going out and having a positive effect. And then the fifth module is nature and connectedness. And this really kind of highlights the holistic nature of this program. It zooms out and puts us, kind of shows us in our, as humans, as the animals are that we are, that have a deep kind of biological connection to nature, and that we can't separate ourselves from it, and that we have this, it also links in with climate change and our responsibility there. And yeah, and it's an interesting one, because some athletes, especially the athletes that train outside, they naturally get this. Of course, nature and your connection to it is a part and parcel of performance and who you are as a human and how you interact with the world. Like the rowers that we have on the program, they kind of understand it from the beginning. But then some of the athletes and especially some mentees, the younger generation who spend a bit more time in front of screens, they don't always have that kind of immediate understanding of what it is to the importance of connection with nature. And just as an example, we have one of the current mentees that we have is a speed skater, and so she does all of her training indoors, and didn't quite understand this module, didn't quite get what it was about until lockdown happened, and all the ice rinks closed, and she could only do her training in her garden and then going for long bike rides. And suddenly she kind of came back to us and said that we found out that she had this kind of realization of being out on these long rides in all kinds of weather and noticing the wind in her hair, the rain, and how that affects her mood, and then the sun comes out, and really kind of found this connection with nature from training that she wouldn't otherwise have got, and really kind of that really hit home for her that there's this side of her that can thrive and can be affected by the natural world around her. And that's really what we see it as part of this mission. The kind of building up of the whole human involves also this kind of connection to our natural roots. So that kind of describes the mentoring relationship itself and how the mentees get to work through these kind of themes. The mentees get their training through the mentors, but we also offer training for the mentors. So it's kind of giving back to the mentors, it's training them up to deliver this training, but also kind of giving them, upskilling them. So it's I mean, they're volunteering their time, and so we want to give them the best possible experience, and an experience that they feel kind of transforms them in the year as well. So we offer workshops on each of these modules, but then also workshops on kind of mentoring skills, and we have a workshop on compassionate communication. I run a workshop on love and compassion in sport. So this is kind of feeding in with filling the gaps of the TAP philosophy. We have another workshop on gratitude for optimizing performance. And then finally, so there's this kind of this schedule of this program of mentor trainings, and then we have group mentor check-ins, which is an opportunity for the mentors to kind of share their experiences of the program and their relationships and challenges and highlights. And they really, those are really special experiences as well. As I said, when you get those athletes all together and they're supporting each other and experiencing what they're kind of the challenges they've been through, it's just really a wonderful experience. Wonderful sharing kind of network. And yeah, we thought we'd just kind of pull out a few of the quotes. We hear just an amazing kind of selection of quotes from our mentors and mentees throughout the year, and it's incredibly heartwarming to see. So we had you'll receive these slides, I'm sure, afterwards, but one of our mentees said it's like breathing a sigh of relief to have a mentor like this, and especially in the lockdown period, it was clear that a lot of mentees really appreciated and thrived from having a mentor in such a strange, difficult time. Another mentee kind of highlighted that it's this sustainable growth and performance as well as developing a peace of mind. So both these strands that come through this approach by working with the whole person. A parent, it's often nice with under 18s when their parents are a bit involved and they get to notice the changes along the way. So when parents saying that I think you and their mentor and the program have been a real lifeline, I'm indebted to you, it's really nice to hear. And just recently, one of our mentors saying I'm a better coach, dad, and person for my work with TAP. And I mean, this kind of stuff is wonderful to show others what the effect it's having. But it also kind of really fills us with this sense of we're on the right track here, that people are really getting something valuable from this year together. And it's certainly not just the mentees, the mentors. We often hear the mentors saying that they feel like they're getting more out of it than their mentees. And I don't think it's the case, but it's certainly the feeling. And I was a mentor to somebody you're about to hear from for 1 year, and I felt something similar, that I felt like I was getting so much out of it. And it just highlights that that's the power of mentoring. Really, it gives back. The more you put into that relationship, the more you get out. And it's a special year for both parties when you commit to it. So unless you think I've missed something, Sam, then I think we'll move on to hearing from a couple of our mentees. I think we're going to start with Sophia. Is that right, Sam?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've heard from me and a bit of my experience kind of coming from mentoring, but Sophia, let's just start with the kind of open-ended. How was your year? You've just finished your year of mentoring with your mentor, Anna. how was it for you, and what did you feel like you gained or went through this year?
Well, I absolutely loved this year. Obviously, I started uni last September, and having TAP as well. And I started like a new training session, new coach and everything, and having TAP and having a mentor by my side was amazing. Like the support that you get from TAP, honestly, like if you need to talk to someone, you can go to your mentor. They'll always have advice. They can always help you. My mentor was Anna Turney, who's a Paralympic skier. She was amazing. We bonded so well, which was so nice, and I could talk to her about anything. And it was, you could literally go to her, she would give you advice, and then you'd go away, come back, and then you'd let her know how this, so you set yourself a task, go back, and you would then talk to her about it and what happened and things. And she kind of makes you look at things in a different light, which was so good, because it was things, it kind of like opens up my mind. So instead of like just choosing one idea, she'd open up so many ideas and so many options as well, which was absolutely amazing. I learned so much, and I definitely grew as a person in this year, and I've definitely got a lot more to do as well, but I enjoyed it so much, and it just helped massively in my fencing, I would say, in my sport, but also like out of sport as well. So yeah.
Wonderful. Can you say a little bit about what any of the specific kind of exercises or sessions that kind of really were highlights for you, or any highlights particularly from the year?
So yeah, effort and attitude was one that we went through quite a bit. So you would rate your effort and attitude before a training session. So like 1 to 10, and you say, what was my effort at the start? What was my attitude at the start? And then I do that over a few weeks and come back to it. And I'd always have a reason. So why was my effort, let's say, why did I mark it a 5? Why did I mark it, my attitude a 6? And then I just analyze it, and I'd go over, I was like, well, why was it this session? Like what? And I was thinking, like, how can I change that? And then I talked to my mentor, Anna, and then she'd be like, well, how can you turn that 5, instead of changing it from a 5 to an 8, let's say, how can you just change it from a 5 to a 6? And it was like, I'd like look in and go, oh, okay. And she'd literally like give me a few ideas, and then I'd go away and try them. And it was just like the little things, changing it could literally make a massive difference. And things like that, the effort and attitude, I've also bring it into like my daily life. So at the start of the day or something, I'd say, how's my effort, how's my attitude? And it is definitely like improved so much. So now I know how to like deal with things. We also looked at like building self-awareness. So looking at like strengths, so like mentally, in performance, tactically. And then we'd look through that, and then I'd be like, why did I talk? Why did I do this? And it's kind of just like analysing things, going back through the sessions. So me and Anna talk about something, and then we'd look back at it. And it was just like so helpful. And I'd always write these things down to have a look back on, because in a month's time, you might forget a session, but you can always look back on it. And each session was so helpful. Like there was always a session. And sometimes one session, we would just sit down and talk. And we're just like, okay, how has the week been? How has the session been? And then I like talk to her and things. Lockdown was definitely a massive one to talk to her about. And I was always trying to keep myself busy, and I was talking to her going, this is what I'm doing. And then we'd like talk about it. Okay, well, how is it going? And yeah, those like key ones as well. Yeah, they're good.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, you and Anna really did hit it off. You were a wonderful match. And I know you met up a couple of times. Most of the sessions happen online, but you guys met up and had a picnic by the river one day. I know. What would you say to? Actually, first of all, did you have any of this kind of support outside of the program? Is there? Did you was some of this stuff stuff that you worked on before, or was it all kind of new? Was it filling holes, or was it all kind of completely new to you?
Well, the mindfulness part was definitely completely new to me. Obviously I'd heard about it, but hadn't really done it. And then when we were doing it, I was like, it was hard to get into the mindfulness, but then once you kind of get it, you just kind of run away with it. Like I got it so well, like the body scan and everything, and I was like trying new things, so like mindfulness walk and things. I definitely didn't have, I'd say, support like this. So it was definitely so nice to have someone to go to. And instead of like going to my coach or parent, I had someone who kind of already gone through stuff like this and obviously had made it and things. And it was just so nice to have someone to talk to and then learn through as well, because I was learning mindfulness. And I just grabbed it and kind of went away with it, really.
Yeah,
and now I'm definitely...
Go on.
Sorry, I was gonna say now I like it is I was talking to Anna and we've like made it into like a routine. So now when I have my breakfast, that is when I will do my mindfulness, and it actually sets me for the day, which is so good. And I actually take it out of my fencing now. So I obviously include it into fencing, but also in my daily life. So
yeah, I was going to say, you're one of our mentees who's really, really taken to mindfulness in a big way. And I know that you've taken it on back into your club as well. Tell us a little bit about that.
So in my gap year, I set up, I really wanted to set up an all-girls fencing club, because I was the only girl at my fencing club and I really wanted to get the girls involved and everything. And so I set up this all-girls fencing club in my gap year. And it was also to get my level 3 coaching as well. So it also helped me as well. And after that, I know I was doing mindfulness. I was like talking to my coach about it, trying to get it into my club. And now I'm at university, so I'm not at my old club, but I'm now at uni, and I was talking to my kind of course mates about it, and they were like, oh, what is this? And I was like talking to them, I was like, well, actually, should we have like a go? Should I talk to you about it? And like, it's also really good in sport, but it's also really good outside in like my daily life. So I'm talking to my course mates about it, and they're like, actually, so obviously we can all have like busy days, and sometimes we just need to stop for 5 minutes and just to like think, like just to kind of have like a breather and then carry on. And my course mates have actually found it so helpful as well. So it's really good.
It's amazing, and really highlights one of the kind of something we would love to happen in this program, is that ripple effect, that it's not just the mentees and the mentors who benefit, but then that you pass it on to younger members or friends, and it's such a wonderful kind of exemplar of that. So thank you, Sophia. We are going to hand back over to Sam and Sully.
Thanks, Sophia. And just a big shout out, by the way, because we have Sophia's mentor, Anna, has signed into the call. Thank you, Anna, for everything you've done. So, Sully, you were our first ever mentee, and you've had an incredible journey since then. So just maybe tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me on today. Absolute honor and pleasure to hear some incredible stories and to be able to contribute to them. Yeah, I mean, it was incredible. Can you hear me, by the way? Because I just turned on my mic. Cool. Yeah, I mean, it was quite incredible how we met, actually, because I made, I think I made a video on YouTube, like, it was like a spoken word poetry thing. And I think Sam stumbled across it, and he messaged me kind of saying, you know, wow, what an incredible video and all this kind of stuff. And that's when we started talking and you started introducing me to TAP and to mindfulness. Because at that point in my life, I think it was quite, so roll it back a little bit. I'm from a West African country called Guinea. I ran away from there because of political violence and poverty and all this stuff. Coinciding with me having an eye condition called retinitis pigmentosa, which essentially means your eye condition chips away until eventually going completely blind. So coming to the UK as a refugee, realizing that I'm fast on the playground, and taking that onto another level, and you know, competing nationally and locally. And then that was when, you know, my eyesight started to get really bad. I was in a, you know, kind of like a bad mental space and all this kind of stuff, and where my sort of career started to, as an athlete, started to pivot. And what really helped me cross that line was, I think, when I was introduced to Sam and we started talking a little bit. TAP was kind of very early, but you still had quite a few core principles, which we talked about with Pam, coincidentally, as well, who's here, I think. And after we started talking, and after, you know, I started understanding a little bit about TAP mentality, was when I got called up to, was when I had one of my best ever years in sport and got called up to represent Great Britain in Brazil in the Junior Paralympics. And won a gold medal, which I still think tap had a lot to do with, if not all to do with. And then, yeah, represented Great Britain some more in Dubai and in lots of international competitions. But also for me, I think when I look back, at my journey with tap, it's kind of been the philosophies I've taken on to do what I've been doing recently. And, I had a year-long mentoring experience with Laurence, and we covered all the, philosophies in depth, and had some difficult conversations and some massive transformational moments while being a mentee of tap. Was really the guiding force for where my life is today, to be able to set up businesses and representing disabilities in not just sport but in business, and doing things on TV. So for me, I kind of took tap on to another level. I used it sort of like a lifestyle and not just as an athlete. Yes, it helped 100% in my sporting journey. It took me to winning gold medal and representing my country, to then saying, how can I implement this into my actual life and really take me forward. So that's kind of, my journey and with tap, and sort of, I guess, a success story with the tap philosophy. And huge, credit to Sam and Pam and, Laurence for sort of, taking my hand and really shaping what the tap philosophy is, because it was an incredible honor to sort of take this brand new thing, which we knew, well, I knew elements of it worked, but bringing it together and making it like a package that other athletes can take and run with, was incredible to see later on the years. And having David there as well, who was obviously the fastest blind runner, who was an incredible inspiration to me, and having that access to talk to someone like him was something that was huge as well, and sort of gave me that mindset that it is possible, and it gave me the roots as well. So yeah, that's kind of my journey in a nutshell. If you have any more specific questions, I'd love to answer as well.
Thank you, Solly. We're so thrilled that you are still with us, still part of the TAP family. Thank you for everything you're doing, and yeah, just so inspirational. It would be cool to hear about what you're doing in the last year or two since TAP, some of your speaking work, and
yeah, definitely. So after my sport and success, I kind of wanted to visit schools and sort of inspire young children to get into sport, and to sort of share that tap philosophy as well, about mindfulness and about having a plan in sport and having a regime, and all the things I've learned, and thought, as a young and up and coming athlete, I wish someone came into my school and told me how to take my talent to the next level. So that's kind of what I started doing, and up to this date, I've kind of visited 150 schools nationally, all the way from Scotland down to Devon. It's been quite an incredible experience, seeing young children, and even some of them reach out to me now on social media saying, I'm now a professional footballer because you visited my school, and all this kind of stuff. So that was an incredible journey. And then taking sort of my journey onto TV. So I signed up to do The Apprentice last year, and it kind of, I didn't even know this, but I was the first ever disabled person to do that show, and try to obviously expand that business and make it nationally. Obviously didn't get the funding from the TV show, but still an incredible learning experience, and breaking down barriers to break down the perception of disabilities in business, because being a part of the Paralympics, that perception has been absolutely obliterated, that disabilities can't participate in sport, because as we've seen with London and with Rio and all these incredible Paralympic events, that we can do it at such a high, incredible level. And now that public perception and awareness is at such a positive place now. So my journey now, alongside training for Paris, because unfortunately Tokyo wasn't part of my plans, but taking alongside Paris, taking this awareness of disabilities in business is another of my big missions that I'm currently using as well, and taking that holistic path to making it happen. So yeah, that's my current journey at the minute.
Thank you, Solly. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Fantastic, and thank you, Sophia. Awesome to have you guys. Cool. So next up is Dr. Carneiro, who is going to talk about her experiences in sport, how she sees the value of this holistic, compassion-based approach in sport. Over to you, Dr. Carneiro.
Hi, well, a pleasure to be with you all tonight, and some incredible stories, really. So my connection seems to be faltering. You can hear me again, guys. But so really, my impressions of us been working in elite sport for the best part of 20 years now. Obviously, best known for working with a football team. But what I really wanted to share was my experiences of what it was like to be on the inside, really. And you know, sort of, whereas from the outside, you sort of see these, as Laurence alluded to, these like superheroes of men who are, you know, millionaire superstar celebrities. What I experienced coming into certain environments was actually a lot of vulnerability, a lot of difficulty expressing that, because it isn't just a job that is 9 to 5, it's a lifestyle. And it's usually a lifestyle that actually, you know, is very dependent on success. And that success in the last performance, that success in, you know, a season, success even to make it into a selection to actually become elite. And there's a lot riding on that success. Actually, everything rides on that success, including the supporting structures, their inner circles, their entourage. And I think the sadly negative, but perhaps less attractive effects of that when athletes retire. The incidence of alcoholism, you know, the dependency, the behaviors that we express are often to do with that inability to express the vulnerability and the fear. I suddenly experienced a lot of fear, and coming into certain sports, there was a lot of that. Ex-athlete is so difficult to work with, you're going to have a really hard time. And now having, you just gone the, like I say, after 20 years or so of being in certain environments, when somebody, it's the thing that I most say in my conferences, when somebody tells you so-and-so is difficult, read fear. And the key to unlocking that is really getting to the bottom of where that comes from. What I also learned is that often these incredible athletes and incredible superhuman beings had never been taught how to deal with adversity. They'd never been taught or supported through lack of success. And actually making it in professional sport at an elite level is all about overcoming hurdles and success. I'm always reminding those patients that come into my clinic now that actually overcoming hurdles and living with injuries is part of athletic performance. There's very few genetically blessed athletes that never have injuries that are long-term. And actually overcoming that is hugely important, and how you overcome that. We often see the bad behaviors expressed in sport, and increasingly what's behind the scenes is coming to light, and I think we're only scratching the surface. For me, I guess observing all that and actually being party to some very incredibly sad and demoralizing stories about careers ended and situations that weren't overcome. Observing what happens in an academy structure where 98% of athletes that are appointed into an academy, for example, in football, in the Premier League, in the UK, will fail to make a first team. It's only the 2% that we see and we glamorize, and of course we never hear about that 98%, and we never give them the tools to cope with what happens when you leave that structure where everything is dependent on that success and that evolution of your career. So being party to all of that, I really do feel that, you know, supporting that, changing what's happening in elite sport is actually should be part of our social conscience. It's no longer good enough to enjoy the performance and think that it's okay to watch the gladiator and not see them fed to the lions. I honestly think that it should be part of enjoyment of that performance to know that actually those athletes are empowered to be superhuman, because I can guarantee you that the mental strength that they exhibit and the hurdles they sometimes overcome to produce that incredible performance despite real life problems, despite it's not only about their work, but actually it's about their families being, you know, the mothers being terminally ill in hospital, and the real life issues that present themselves into their performance and what they have to cope with, giving them the skills to actually stand up to bullying, harassment, because those individuals that sometimes make decisions in those pyramid structures that are very particular to elite sport often have incredible power. They have the power to end your career, not because you don't perform, but because you don't behave in the way that is required, whatever that behavior that is required might be. So I think, I guess I witnessed all of this and was trying to search for answers within myself on how to change it, was trying to not only encourage those around me, my colleagues, to speak up about what was observed, because it's okay to speak about the 20 million ways of treating a tendon and a sudden injury, but it doesn't seem to be okay to speak about what's actually happening behind treating that tendon. And so I increasingly, I felt that actually it's the power within the athlete that has to change that. And coming across the True Athlete project, it really sort of, I learned that actually there was a way, there was a method to empower an athlete to have the inbuilt strength to be able to cope not only with adversity, but to stand up to certain behaviors, to call behaviors out, to come together and say it's not okay. So I'm excited about learning and ways of becoming a mentor. I certainly sort of felt a little bit like unraveling in the cases that obviously I cannot discuss in detail, but in the personalities I've learned about, and actually persisting, getting to the bottom of what was behind certain behaviors, getting to the bottom of what was blocking a performance, has really changed the way I look at not only managing medical problems, but managing the individual. And I can honestly in my heart say that I've worked with some teams that had all the investment in the world, with some of the most gifted and powerful and amazing superhuman athletes in the world. But actually, it was actually stripping all that back, doing basic things well, and actually looking after the human factors that produce the superhuman performances. So I think the True Athlete project is actually coming up with ideas in which empower the athletes to actually have that knowledge of how to do that within themselves. So I can't ask you to please support them enough, and I'm very excited to be part of this project and learn more actually about becoming a mentee to help bring about change. I honestly do think that sport is an incredible motivator to bring up social change. And if nobody ever believes that, you should look up Didier Drogba and how coming to his knees and speaking his truth stopped a war, stopped the mass killing of people. So again, this is another way, the example to our children, but actually the example to society, and athletes are fully capable of doing that. They just need to be empowered in order to do so.
Thank you so much, Eva. That was fantastic. So interesting. And we're just completely over the moon that you're going to be part of the TAP team and a mentor in the coming year. What's been so nice about our mentoring program is that these mentors come with such a rich experience and knowledge of sport and life and this holistic approach. So it's a very sort of co-designed curriculum and year. And so we're going to have no doubt we're going to benefit massively from having you be part of the TAP team, Eva. Thank you. Awesome. So I'm just going to share one more thing before we get into some questions and answers. And this time I can see Pam. Can you give me a thumbs up if you can see the screen? Thanks. So we're here obviously to ask for your support in providing scholarships for young athletes, young mentees, to be able to come onto the True Athlete project. I'll get to that bit in a second, but if you know any young athletes, we're still recruiting mentees until October 31st. So if there are young athletes in your life, children, neighbors, son or daughter, if you're at a school or a club, then please consider passing this opportunity on. It really is a life-changing experience. And about partnering with the True Athlete project. So this is a really special opportunity to partner with us. We've all been, basically until April this year, we're all volunteers growing this project up one piece at a time, gaining in confidence as we saw the impact that this work had on mentees, mentors, and now clubs, schools, a couple of national governing bodies even. So we're really confident that we can now propose a really robust, effective, literally life-changing experience. So the ask is that you can support us by funding scholarships for young people. And it's not just the scholarship on its own. You know, you are directly impacting the life and career of this young aspiring athlete, and someone who wouldn't otherwise be able to afford this type of support. So if you imagine an alternative of maybe affording a sports psychologist every week or something, which actually still doesn't have what we're offering here, it would be an extortionate amount of money. So really important. You're not just sponsoring the mentee, you're sponsoring the mentor and the mentee. So the mentor gets a fantastic suite of training, compassionate communication, work in gratitude from a leading researcher in the world of gratitude for performance, training in our different modules like identity and values, nature and connectedness, mental health first aid, all sorts of interesting training opportunities, our mindfulness classes, to really help them not only as people and as athletes if they're still competing, but also to give them economic opportunities, perhaps to deliver workshops for the True Athlete Project, perhaps to bring this into their coaching and actually really delve into this wider world of sort of mental, emotional support through sport. And it's a really exciting movement. We have grown and gathered this incredible momentum because people in sport get it. So elite athlete mentors, I often kind of reflect on the fact that I present TAP to lots of different people at different levels of sport, because our goal is to affect the culture of sport at all levels of sport. And the sort of most unedited, pure version where I can just speak completely from the heart is to elite athlete mentors who completely get it and often say, I just wish that this was part of my development and growth through sport when I was an aspiring athlete. So it's we're growing all the time. We're moving into interesting new partnerships with the Muhammad Ali Center, with some private and public schools, and a chance to join the growing TAP family. But there's also some extra things in it for you. So we have some different packages. Our Rising Star package, a full scholarship for one athlete, is £950. It includes certificate, letters from mentee, a press release. So we're gradually building up quite a portfolio of articles, presentations. We did a social media takeover of the Olympic channel. We'd won the World Olympic Association Partnership Award in 2018, a social media takeover of UK sport, just had an article in the Daily Telegraph and the Sunday Times magazine. So part of our strategy is to really use our platform to speak out as well as deliver programs. So that's one part of what we're doing. So you'll receive a social media highlight. The scholarship will be named in your organization's name. So the Fred Smith Scholarship for a young person. And you'll also receive a TAP workshop, class, or guest talk of your choice from one of the TAP team members. It moves up in terms of what you receive. So as we move up to the TAP champion level, it's actually a package of innovative workshops, talks, and leadership coaching from the TAP team. And we'd have conversations to tailor that to your needs. Moving right up to the headline sponsor for the True Athlete Project with naming rights and a bespoke year-long partnership package to support our growth, our sustainability, helping us to provide a sustainable impact. And that is the GOAT, greatest of all time category. And that is £28,000. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to questions and open up the floor. And I think the best way to do it is if we've got a small enough group where if you have a question for us, for anyone on the team, you can unmute yourself and come in and we'll take it from there.
Oh, hi guys.